Hello everyone, this is Ian, otherwise known as Takale, and I am here with another entry in the Rule Element video series. Today I'm going to be covering two newer rule elements, crafting ability and special resource. So both of these are pretty tied into Alchemist, as you might guess from how that class works. But any class can use them, and so we're going to go over not just how Alchemist uses them, but also how you can customize them for your own situations. Alright, so we're going to start by making a new Alchemist. It's going to be Al the Alchemist. And so when I make the Alchemist, there's two things that we're going to notice. The first is we have this Versatile Vials field here on the sidebar, and the next is we have this Advanced Alchemy under our crafting entry. So let's start with the crafting entry. And so if we look at the Advanced Alchemy class feature, we can see a rule here for our crafting ability. And so let's just start at the top and work our way through what this rule is and what it's telling us. So the first is this craftable items array, and this is acting sort of like a filter or definition or predicate in another rule element, where we have this predicate-like structure telling us what we can craft, right? So this is much more akin to a filter or a definition, because it's not telling us when the rule is actually active, it's telling us what goes in this. And so, so this is telling us that alchemical consumable items, and this is just like a definition or a filter or a predicate. The top level is an and so that means that in order to put an item into the slots here that we've made, it must be both alchemical and consumable. We can also do something like the Horn of Plenty item, the exemplar here, and we can see that its craftable items is an or, because it can craft either elixirs or potions. And so you can treat this like you would a definition or a filter in another rule. Alright, then is daily prep is set to true. Currently, you have to have either is daily prep, is prepared, or is alchemical set to true. One of those three must be set to true in order for this to appear here. So most crafting that's set up with these crafting entries is just set up like this. There's not really too many other ways to set it up. The label defaults to the name of the item itself, or you can set any label you want. Right, I can relabel it, and it just changes the name up there. Then we have max slots, and this is telling us how many slots we get, right? 4 plus our intelligence modifier. We have 1 intelligence alchemist right now because we haven't set any attribute scores. And so we have 5, okay? And then the slug, you just want to make sure that this is a unique slug, so avoid anything that the system uses, and avoid anything that avoid anything that would be too common, right? Your slug isn't shown to people, so just be as verbose as you want to be with it. So that creates these crafting entries, and we can add in some items here. So let's say we know how to make a couple of alchemist fires. We're punching way above our weight class, knowing how to make a level 17 item already. If I drag in a lesser alchemist fire, it adds in. Notice that then the rule element itself updated, right? So this is our prepared entry. The items that are in these slots are tracked inside the rule itself, sort of like a role option. Rule element tracks the toggleable state, whether the toggle is true or false, inside the rule, as opposed to storing it on actor data. So this is more stable. So if I try to add in this, it tells me no, because I'm a level 1 character, I cannot craft a level 17 item. By default, the maximum level that you can craft is set to your actor level. So if I leveled up to level 17, then I would be able to drag in a major alchemist spire. Okay, so now, right, we've got this. We can increase or decrease the number of items. Let's say I want to completely change this, right? So this is, I want to, instead of crafting alchemical items, I have a specific archetype I'm working with, and I want to craft daggers or longswords. Okay, and instead of, it being variable, I just get to craft 4 every day. Actually, let's just go with 2, right? So I get to craft 2 every day, and we should change my slugs so that if I do end up taking, alchemist dedication or something, I don't wind up colliding. Right, sword making. Okay, so now I have this. I can't drag these in because they're not compatible with the craftable items anymore. So let's add the formula for dagger and longsword to my crafting entry. And so I can put in a dagger. I can make that 2 daggers, or I can put in a longsword. All right, I can make that 2 longswords. It might seem a little unfair, though, right? Like, why would I make 1 dagger when I could make 1 longsword, right? A longsword's just a better weapon. So, what I can do is I can say, I want to actually increase the number of these items that I can make. So I can create a batch sizes object. Right, so this is an object wrapped in these curly braces, and I'm going to set the default batch size to 1, and then I'm going to start defining batch sizes for items. Okay, so definition, item base dagger, and give it a quantity 3. So now I'm saying that I can either make 1 longsword or 3 daggers. And when I update that, the system automatically knows, hey, I'm making daggers in batches of 3. So I can make 6 daggers a day or 2 longswords because I've given it this extra batch size. If I have, say, we changed the name of that, didn't we? Trait. Serpent dagger is the new name. All right. So let's say I have the serpent dagger, right? If I try to drag it in, I'm going to get the same, I'm not high enough level. I can set my level up, or, right, I can come in here and actually set max item level. And so I can just say, hey, I get to make up to level 5 items with this, even if I'm level 1. Take that. But you might look at this and say, like, hey, I can make 3 serpent daggers with 1 batch. That seems a little, odd. We can fix that, right? So I could say not item trait magical. All right, so now, right, it errored out because it was above the number, but now when I drag in the serpent dagger, I only get the 1. So I could define a second batch size. So let's say, hey, I do want to craft more of a dagger. And then I can just say, well, if it's a magical dagger, then I get to craft 2 of them. And so now I get 2 serpent daggers or 3 regular daggers. Right, so you can get very complicated with these. These definitions are just like any other definition or filter or predicate. They accept logical statements. You can you can just go crazy with this. This is you can make these things very, very complicated. In the wiki, I have an example that has several batch sizes that you can declare. So there's a lot we can do with the crafting entry, right? You could, you can set the maximum slots, the max item level. This is all, these are resolvable. So like if you looked at Talisman Dabbler uses half the actor level. Right, so it uses that as the maximum item level instead of the default, which is just actor level. And so notice that it's not going to kick out Serpent Dagger because I have it in there right now, because that only verifies when you try to add an item. So it's not going to flag and say, hey, existing items are a problem with your new setup. Okay, so that is our crafting ability rule element. Hopefully, it's not too overly complicated. The next rule element that we want to look at is special resource. And to look at that one, we're going to stay on the Alchemist, and we're going to look at versatile vials. Because versatile vials are the special resource for the Alchemist. And so we've got this very, long rule element here. Let's pull that up to the top. And so you can see we have this versatile vials in the sidebar. If I rest for the night, I get my maximum versatile vials added to my character sheet. It tells me that items were refreshed, and those versatile vials are tied to these in my inventory. All right, so using up a versatile vial by, say, making a versatile vial strike, will use up a versatile vial automatically because it's a consumable weapon. So how do we, let's break this down, right? So first off, these items are temporary, just like the ones made with the crafting ability, right? If I craft daggers, they're temporary. They'll expire when I rest for the night. So let's break down the actual special resource rule here. So this first line is the item UUID. This is what tells the special resource that it is tied to the versatile vials item, right? So this is telling it there is a physical item that you need to pull out of the compendium. It's at this UUID. You could have it pull out of your world too. Just give it the UUID and it'll work. The label here, right? This is just the label for the special rule. On this side, you can have it be whatever, right? Just like before. And it uses that name. The level, this is telling us what level the physical item is. So if you don't have a tied physical item, you do not need to declare a level. Right? So this is saying if I look at my versatile vials, they're level 1. If I go to level 5 and I look at my versatile vials, they're now level... No. And then refresh them, they're now level 4. Right, so this is telling us that if I'm above level 4, then they make level 4 items. If I'm above level 12, they make level 12 items, right? Because Alchemist has these breakpoints where their versatile vial bomb damage goes up, and we base that off of the item level. So we can, tie those two things together so that a higher level Alchemist makes more potent versatile vials. The next thing here, the maximum. So this is telling us the maximum number of versatile vials that we can make, right? 2 plus our intelligence modifier, which gives us 3 right now. And then the slug, just like with any other slug, you want to make sure that it is a unique slug. So, let's say instead of versatile vials, I'm doing something a little bit simpler. And so this is an example from the wiki where I have will points, right? So this isn't tied to a physical item on my character. It is instead just twice my wisdom modifier. And I have a slug of will points. If I apply that, you'll see something problematic happen here. I have 0 will points. Well, it's because I have a 0 wisdom modifier. So if you are doing something like this, it would be a good idea to add a max call so that you have a minimum value of 1, right? This is saying, hey, take 1 or this, whatever's larger. And so that gives us, if I set my wisdom to +2, I now have 4 will points to play around with throughout the day. So now, right, if I reduce the number of will points and then rest for the night, I get them back. All right, that makes sense. What if I don't want that to happen? Okay, so what if I don't want these points to actually renew daily? I can set renew to false. And now, if I rest for the night, I don't get back any will points. So the only values you can enter for renew are either daily or false. You don't need to enter daily because that's the default. Something to be aware of here is that, with this slug, if I wanted to, call my, let's say I wanted to call these resolve points and I gave it a slug of resolve, Foundry's going to throw a fit because it doesn't like that value. And you might wonder, why? Well, it's because the stamina variant has a statistic called resolve already. And so you can still call yours resolve, but your slug needs to not match up with something that it needs to not conflict with something that is already in the system. Okay, so I can't call this something on the actor already, something already in actor data. It needs to be something unique. So we can see how these resources work. You can find the resources in the actor data. Right, if I drag Al to the map here, right, and I go into my token.actor to pull up all my actor data, I've got a whole lot of stuff. Right, I can go into system, and then I can go to resources, and I can see will points. Right, so it's just right in here. You can access it in other rule elements. One thing to be aware of with these is that you might not be able to modify them directly like you might want to because of data preparation order. It is impossible to get the data preparation order so that it always works without having these recursions, without setting it rigidly and saying, well, this has to go first. And so at a certain point you have to say, well, active effect likes have to go before special resource, because special resource might rely on an active effect like to set some data. So if you wanted, say you were making an archetype where you got 1 point for every feat you took in that archetype, you would set an active effect like to create the flag, or to create some value in a flag on the actor, and then have the special resource use that flag as the maximum. Right? Very similar to what Barbarian Dedication does with all of its feats, right? Barbarian Archetype does with all of its feats, or Fighter Archetype, where they set a value in the flags that is then later read by a flat modifier to give bonus hit points when you take Barbarian Resiliency. Very similar idea, but with special statistic instead of active effect like, and then you can use other active effect likes to increase that value in flags for you. So that you're not coming in and directly trying to write to this value, which could be a little hairy for data prep reasons. So that is basically everything there is to know about special resource and crafting ability right now. They're fairly simple rules. Crafting ability is a little bit more complex if you get into batch sizes and setting up your definition for your crafting ability. But for the most part, they are pretty easy to use. You can, very easily set a special resource, and then you have it over here. So you can use that to help track things. You could use that to track, reputations with NPCs, things like that. If you wanted to track them per actor. I know a lot of people, look at the Pathfinder Society tab and look at these and they wonder, oh, can we add things to this? Well, no, this tab is very much meant for Pathfinder Society organized play, and so we haven't built out anything like this. But if you wanted a place on the sheet that you can prominently track this kind of data, you can do it in these things. Though, if it's going to be a lot of factions, I would recommend just making an effect to track it on an NPC actor or on the party sheet with an actual counter. So that's a little bit easier for the GM to manage. All right, I think that is everything. So everybody have a great day, and I will see you in the next video, which will be a lot of data entry. It will be all about making a module completely from scratch. I plan to record the entire process, so the video might be hours long. I will probably fast forward through a few parts, but it will all otherwise be there, and you'll get to see how I actually make modules and how to go very quickly, hopefully.